This is KDAK, the Cardinal, the voice of the Cardinals. I am BJ Walters, and we are joined by Cardinal softball coach Brady Smith. And Coach, we've complained a lot about the baseball schedule, but you're 2-4, and it's May 7th. You've hardly gotten any softball in.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be a little bit better than last year because, last year, if everyone remembers, it was snow last year. This year, it's all rain. It seems like it's almost every day at this point now. So, yeah, we're doing the best that we can to at least get all of our region games in. Just as of an hour ago, our game today in Cavalier got canceled, so we won't be making that one up anymore. But yeah, it's something you can't control, and just got to keep, day by day.
So you're still a very young program, and I don't just mean the roster, although it's true of that too. What were some of the benchmarks that you wanted to hit to this point of the program, and do you feel like you are where you wanted to be?
Yeah, I would. It's a good question. It's hard when you can't be consistent with playing games a couple of times a week. You play one game and then it rains a couple of days and then you play another game 10 days later. So it's kind of hard to be consistent, but I'd say overall as a team, obviously my number one point at the beginning of the year was pitching and defense. And I think for the most part, that has come a long way. It's not only from last year, but from the start to where we are right now. It's actually surprised me. Our hitting isn't quite up to par where I'd like it to be. But, like I just said, it's hard to be consistent in seeing constant pitching from a live pitcher when you can't have consistent games. So as far as pitching and defense, I'd say I'm pretty satisfied with that. But hitting, I wish it was just a little bit better at this point.
I want to take you back 12 months. You're in a playoff game, number 6 seed, and you pull off an upset. You beat Grafton in the playoffs. I think if one person says they expected that, they're lying, because Grafton is this established program and you guys are still, building. What did that do for your roster from an understanding that they could compete level? Because a lot of these names on the roster this year were on there last year.
Yep. Yeah, so obviously a lot of confidence, right? So, you kind of touched it too. I don't think a lot of people in the region or the state expect us to really win that game. But, that was one of those games where that was probably one of the most fun I've had coaching, not only at the softball level, but, Legion and Little League as well. The girls, they showed grit. They pursued the perseverance. We were down a couple of times that game. They fought back. And we worked all week that week on getting that last out, and all week we got the 2 outs and then we let up that winning run, but just so happens that when it was time, they got all 3 in a row, and that was awesome to see. So going into this year, it just gave everyone so much confidence going in. That's what a young team needs. Is confidence moving forward and just building and getting better each and every day.
How is your job different when everybody's back and you still don't have any seniors? How is your job unique or more fun with the roster construction that you have?
Yeah, you're definitely used to where the girls should be playing, what their strengths and weaknesses are, what they need to improve on. So it's gonna be the same thing next year. We only lose one senior again this year, so I'm gonna get the same group back. So it's kind of fun to build them in their each individual position, and kind of tweaking some things at the plate too. But most importantly, I would say defensively, they're all able to get more comfortable with positions they're normally playing. But, I again told them this year that if you want to be good individually, you have to be willing to play more than just one position too. So you got to be able to play multiple positions depending on who's pitching in certain circumstances. And so far, I think this year they've held up to that standard.
Carrington softball coach Brady Smith is our guest. So with the roster being the way that it is it hard as a coach not to think of where you could be 2 and 3 years from now?
Oh, I think about that every day. Especially last year, I'm like, God, just hope these girls keep going out, because they could be a really really special group to coach. And they already are, don't get me wrong, but we're still missing, that leadership, just those upperclassmen. Yes, we do have 4 juniors and a senior this year, but those juniors were sophomores last year. They're really not quite sure of how to quite take that next step and actually, lead the team quite yet. But I'm hoping next year we'll have 4 seniors, and they'll be a little more vocal than what I want them to be this year. So
we mentioned you've only played 6 games. The one constant in these 6 games is that Cadence is pretty good at the top of your lineup. And this is a young player who puts in the time in the summer, plays in Jamestown with kids playing, WDA softball right now. Where have you seen her greatest growth from last year to this year?
She's one kid where nothing really seems to bother her at all. You could put her at any position. It doesn't matter if she's playing center field, she's pitching at first base, hitting, nothing seems to faze her. She's a gamer, and there's a reason why she's one of the best that we have on the team, right? Bats in the top 3, and stick her in any position and she'll do it. But I'd say just her grittiness and willing to do whatever you want her to do. That's what makes her fun to coach, and that's what makes her special.
Callie Hewitt, a freshman who last year, what 8th grader is going to go in there and dominate? There are none. Her freshman year this year, she's throwing more strikes, and I think she's really learned how to pitch to contact and let her defense work. How impressed have you been with her growth?
Absolutely, and like you just said, she's only a freshman, so she still has 3 more years to grow and learn the game and work on her mechanics. That was the biggest thing that I wanted to change from last year to this year was her mechanics, and I think so far she's been, like you said, a lot more consistent throwing strikes. She's hitting her spots. Depending on who's catching, Isabel or Bryn will set up, inside, outside, and for the most part, she's been able to be right around the plate, which is great to see. The more strikes you throw, the more balls that defense puts in play, or the offense puts in play, and just let your defense work. And like I said earlier, I've been satisfied with how our defense has been playing, and for the most part, we're making a lot of those routine outs. But yeah, I've been really happy with how Callie's been throwing the ball so far this year.
Let's talk about the region. This is a region that almost going into the year seems like a foregone conclusion with Thompson and Mayport. And I think Mayport's even better than maybe we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. In a way, does that take the pressure off?
That's a great question. So it's actually funny you say that, because when we played Mayport yesterday, we kind of met pregame. Obviously everyone knows how good of a team Mayport is, and basically what I told the girls is that there should be absolutely no pressure on us, right? That we got nothing to lose. They're the number 1 team in the state. All pressure should be on them, right? So you have a younger team willing to compete. Why not, right? Show up, do your thing, and see what happens. There should be absolutely no pressure on anyone, especially for a younger team. And I have had to talk to the girls a couple of times this year, just putting too much pressure on themselves, and sometimes that can get to your own head, and things just kind of snowball from there. So that was another point that I wanted to make with the team this year is, you guys are young, you guys are going to grow. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. There's things, you'll get better. The sun's going to come up the next day if you make a mistake. Just the worst thing you can do is get in your own head, and just keep doing what you're doing.
News came down last week that I'm certain you were not disappointed in, and that is that the region's going to be split for the playoffs, and you're on the same side with Mayport and Thompson, which means the design of the tournament this year will be that South teams play North teams in the first round in Grafton. You can't play Thompson, you can't play Mayport. When you saw that, how big was the grin on your face?
Yeah, that was, I saw the schedule and I was like, well, that's a good opening round anyways, right? Those are usually the last 2 teams that you want to play. But at the end of the day, you gotta, doesn't matter who you play, you gotta come out on top if you want to succeed and, take that next level of going to the state tournament. So, we gotta keep that mindset of doesn't really matter who comes in our path. We still got to do the job, throw strikes, and hit the ball. So, like, yes, it was nice seeing that, but like I said, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter who you play. You still got to come out on top. So,
The next team on your schedule, as you mentioned, Cavalier not happening, as many games this year have not happened. You've got Larimore on Thursday. That is pretty much for the right to host the play game in all likelihood. That would be towards the tail end of next week. Give us a little primer on Larimore. What are you guys going up against?
So we played, they were one of our first 2 games last year. That was a very high scoring game. We came out on top. I think it was 27-25 in Minot.
Oh my.
There was a lot of balls put in play, a lot of strikes thrown, a lot of walks. But I would say from the 2 teams last year to this year, we've improved, and I would assume they have improved as well. So I would assume that we're going to be for a pretty good game.
And because that game will probably be rematched in the first round, it's an opportunity to kind of familiarize yourself with an opponent and kind of get a good scouting report.
Yep, absolutely. It only takes one game before you kind of get familiar with the other team, what their capabilities are at the plate, and velocity from a pitcher too. So it'll be nice. Hopefully we can get this one on Thursday, like you said. It'll be nice to host that first game instead of getting onto a bus and going all the way up to Larimore. So it'll be nice to play them twice here in a row. It's scouting the other team. It's huge. You can position your fielders where you want. You can determine hitters' weaknesses, strengths, stuff like that. So, it'll be. But for the most part, it'd be nice to play here twice.
Don't want to have to make the bus trip, certainly. And we will be there on Thursday at home, Carrington and Larimore. Coach, thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.